Good evening, everyone. Welcome to another edition of Nighttime with Karnes. I am not keeping an episode count, so I have no idea if I've done 5 episodes or 7 episodes or 10 episodes. Regardless, this is the episode that's going to be titled March 21st, 2017. That's one way for me to keep track of them. What's new? I apologize for not being able to do this last night. I just finished up my 14th round of chemo on Friday, and went through, and pretty much whenever I go through one of those sessions, I kind of have I guess you can call it a post-chemo hangover. Even with me doing this on Friday, I still ended up working a bit. And ended up doing 3 calls that day, and it was my PTO day off, but I did 3 calls that day, and then the very next day on Saturday, I spent 3 hours writing that day, writing a blog post as well as working on 2 novels, and then I hung out with a friend, went to see Beauty and the Beast. That song got stuck in my head. I'm not big on Disney, so it was out of my usual sort of movie to watch. It was not my usual sort of movie to watch, but I watched it anyway with my friend Amanda Cardona and her cousin Imani and her grandmother. We went to Studio Movie Grill, had a good time. They sang songs. I kind of looked at the movie and wondered what was going on most of the time. And then after that, I hung out with some friends on Saturday night, saw some classic rock cover bands. Well, actually, I only saw one. It was the Journey cover band. I missed Fleetwood Mac, and I didn't hang out for the Led Zeppelin cover band. But all that added up as a very busy day. So Sunday I kind of was just really wiped out and tired, and then didn't do much of anything on Sunday. I had plans to go to the grocery store and all that stuff, and then yesterday nausea hit me in the morning, stayed with me throughout the day, and then when I got home that night last night, I just wasn't really feeling up to doing Nighttime with Karnes, and I've had a bit of the nausea again today, but it hasn't been as bad, and I've taken a couple of anti-nausea pills throughout the day. So that's my post-chemo hangover story. Next round of chemo is going to be the first week of April, and that'll be the start of my 15th round. In the news in the past week, a couple of things I want to comment on. First, we've all heard the allegations of former President Obama wiretapping Trump Tower during Trump's candidacy. When he tweeted that, and the news reports reported that at the time, my BS meter went off. I didn't think it was likely to be true, and so far, every piece of evidence that's available has shown that that's not to be true. There was no wiretapping of Trump Tower. He also tried to blame it on British intelligence, and that seemed to blow back in his face as well. What is he going to do at this point? I think he'll likely stick with his story. I think he's still going to accuse the former president of wiretapping. His fan base is rabid for him, so they won't question it. They'll continue to believe it. The other side, on the other side of the equation, is the liberals and Democrats. They're going to hate him no matter what he does. So you got the rest of us in the middle who are the rest of us who are more independent minded and more independent thinking. We know that we didn't buy it. The needle swings away from him for us. We just know it's not. We're not going to buy it. It's not true. The other thing I wanted to comment on was last week Rachel Maddow's reveal of Trump's 2005 tax returns. Did that blow back in her face really, really hard. So she built this thing up. She said that she's got his tax returns. She's going to show them on TV. And then it turns out that he paid roughly 25%, a total of 32 or somewhere around 32 or $35 million. The number escapes me, on an income of $150 million in the year 2005. Essentially, it shows that he's paid taxes. It deflates the argument that you need to see all of Trump's tax returns, because you've seen one and it's not proven what you were hoping it would prove, and now this is going to be the liberal version of what the conservatives had complained about over the last 8 years with Obama, with the truther or with the birther and Muslim arguments. Now this is going to be one of those arguments that liberals are going to cling desperately to, and it's not going to get any traction anymore because we've seen his tax return now. Now, does one tax return out of 2005 prove anything? Nope, it just proves something for 1 year. My feeling is that someone, either Trump himself or someone in the Trump camp, released this tax return knowing that it was going to be a huge nothing burger for Rachel Maddow, and it's turned out to be an embarrassment for the liberals who are still holding on to this argument. Like I said, it doesn't. I mean, he, as a billionaire, I anticipate that he's taken advantage of every law and every tax loophole that he possibly can, as do 97% of Americans. One of the more interesting things that the conservatives can use out of this 2005 tax return is that he when they compare the tax returns to that of either Obama or Bernie Sanders, and I think it was one other person, he paid more in taxes than they did. So it turned out they were hoping that this huge big reveal would be the deciding hammer blow for the Trump presidency, and it turned out to be a huge nothing. I'm still holding out on more data for the alleged collusion between between the Trump campaign and Russia. And additionally, I'm still holding out for more data and more commentary regarding the release of Trump's budget plan for his first term. Hello, Miguel. Do you have a question for me? Because I am here answering questions. And what is your screenshot? I can't tell what it is from the little picture. Waiting to see if Miguel has a question. He does not. He seems to only say hello. What else is going on with me? I decided to write 2 novels at the same time. That's probably not a smart idea. It just gives me more work to do. I am 28,000 words in on one novel. I really had hoped to have had a rough draft done well before this. Like sometime I had hoped to have a rough draft of the sequel to One Nation completed by December of last year. Given that my work schedule has taken, I do a lot of work at the office, and if you've read my blog post, the way I equate it as is work equals healthcare equals survivability. So I got to put sorry, my nose is itchy. I have to take care of myself. I have to do the things that take care of myself. Do I really want to spend 14 hours on work? Not really. That was my day last Thursday. I started at 7 in the morning, went to chemo, worked through chemo, and then worked until almost 9 o'clock afterwards. And it was just a long, busy day. But I really need to ensure that I have health insurance for everything that I do. So I'm back to One Nation, or the sequel One Nation, which is Indivisible. I am 28,000 words into it. I anticipate when the rough draft is finished, it'll be somewhere around 80,000 words. And then I can start editing from there. I'm also writing another novel at the moment that I'm 3,000 words into. The trouble with writing and the trouble with stories is that sometimes out of nowhere a story will just grab hold of you, and then maybe other writers can relate to this. I don't know if anyone else can or not, or maybe my friend Quincy from work can relate to this. Sometimes a story, maybe for him it's music, for me it's stories. Sometimes a story will take hold of my head, and then I start piecing together the characters, the plot points, and then I pretty much obsess about the story from beginning to end, the plot twist, certain scenes, how the characters develop, and so forth. So I started writing this second novel simultaneously with Indivisible at the same time, because the story was in my head and I couldn't let it go. I'm constantly writing in my head all the time, and I'm constantly coming up with new ideas to refine the story I'm writing, to come up with sometimes I write myself into a corner, sometimes I come up with problems, and then I need to come up with a way to solve them. But then I essentially obsess over stories and characters and figure out ways that I need to get them down on paper and to tell their stories effectively. Another thing I can tell you about writing is when you write characters, when you write characters and stories, like if you've read One Nation, the main character is Jennifer Hansen, and there are a number of other characters in there as well, as Anthony Piccolo, Chief Inspector Jennings, and Jennifer's husband, and a whole bunch of other characters. But every character that you write in a story is a piece of you in some way. And then you also become emotionally invested. They're fictional characters, but they feel very real to you because you've created them and you've invented them. And even though you don't tell every aspect about the characters in your story, you still know like little background details, like whether or not they like to eat oranges, or what was their most embarrassing moment in college, or you still have those things in the back of your mind. Kelly was a badass character for the brief amount of time that she was in there. Sorry, Kelly Ray. She was only in there for a little bit, and it's not based on you, I swear. I just needed a name at the time, and she was a small character. But case in point, I do know where Kelly came from, as well as her boyfriend. They came from backwoods in the South. They had a kind of like a low middle class upbringing. They had struggled like with everyone else did in life, and they were put in a position where they had to escape. For that character of Kelly that comes in at the end of One Nation, she would remind me of a lot of the family I have back east in Kentucky, because I know a lot of the family and characters who are like Kelly, so that would be something I based it on, as well as a piece of me. Even with the new story I'm writing right now, it's, you got two bad men and the woman who's the wife of one of the bad men, and each character is a facet of me in some way, because it's coming from my heart, and I actually empathize with the main villain of the story more than I do with who this is supposed to be the hero character, as well as the wife. And I have a really jacked up ending that's gonna really freak people out. But yep, I'm in the process of writing 2 stories at the moment and need to get to work on them. But my day job takes me away from working a lot, and I feel like I work all the time, and then I feel like I'm also burning the candle at both ends, so to speak. So that's everything that's gone on with me since last week. Does my one viewer out there, who's probably Kelly Ray, have any questions or topics that they would like for me to cover? The only thing I got planned this weekend is to go see the movie Life. That is, if it has really good reviews. And maybe I can give a movie review for next Monday night. Okay, I am not seeing any questions, and I've talked for quite a bit. I'm at the point where I'm just talking to myself, so I'll just wrap this up. If you have any... Oh, I do have one more thing to tell people. The whole reason why I do this show in the first place, as well as write a blog and Twitter and all that stuff, is so that I'm trying to promote myself, because I wrote a book and I want you to buy it. So I'm going to do shameless self-promotion right now. This is my book. I don't know if it's backwards or not. It should be showing up correctly. But this book is available on Amazon.com, both as a digital edition for the Kindle for $3.99. And there's my name. Or you can get this lovely print edition for $12.95. You can just search for the title One Nation on Amazon, as well as my name, Michael Leslie Karnes, and it should pop up for you. So if you haven't had a chance to read my book yet, feel free to buy it and do so. Then after that shameless self-promotion, I'm going to end this show here. If you have any other topics you would like for me to cover, feel free to comment. I can cover them next week, or I can write them on my blog, which is michael-karnes.net. Have a good night, everybody.